Hey everyone, in this video we're going to get Apache Pulsar set up on our local laptop, and to do this we're going to use Docker and Docker Compose. So the first thing you want to go and do is create a Docker Compose file. So just do docker-compose.yaml and then copy this information in here. You don't need this bit here, these are just comments which we'll talk about later. So if we go to our file and we do docker-compose up, this will start up our Apache Pulsar. And let's just go down through the Docker Compose file here. You notice mine started up there automatically. Yours might have to download the Docker image, so this one here, if you haven't used Pulsar before. So that's the first bit of it. Then the second bit are these commands here. And these commands are used to set up tenants and namespaces. You don't need to have this as part of your Docker Compose file to get Pulsar up and running on your local machine, but it's nice to have some tenants and namespaces, because when you go to create a topic, which is the main reason of why we use Pulsar, is because we have topics and we create an application, like a Java application or a Node application, to write to a given topic, and then we have another application that reads from that topic. And a tenant is like a parent, and a namespace is a child of a tenant. And topics are children of namespaces. So at the very top, we have tenants, then we have namespaces, and then underneath namespaces, we have topics. And you can see in this, we haven't created any topics, but we will be doing that once our Apache Pulsar starts up. Another thing to note is the ports. I'm using port 8081. If you see some documentation online, or by default, it usually uses port 8080. I've run into problems in the past because I'm developing applications and they spin up automatically on port 8080 as well, and then there's a conflict of the local port. So that's why I use 8081, but feel free to use 8080 or something totally different if you want. So just to mention, this here waits 60 seconds before it creates the tenant and the namespace, and then it just waits 2 seconds in between them to make sure it gives it enough time to create the tenant before it moves on to creating a namespace. So once we have that in place, let's do a Docker PS, and we can see all the Docker containers that we have running. Luckily for me, I only have one. So I'm going to do Docker PS. No, I'm not going to do Docker PS. I'm going to do Docker exec-it, the container ID, and then bin/bash. Once we go in there, let's do an ls, and we can see that this is no longer on my local machine. This is us actually inside the Pulsar container. So let's use the Pulsar CLI, which is like pulsar-admin, to get some information about our cluster. So if we execute this, we can see that we have four tenants. We have 3 by default. That's public, Pulsar, and sample, and then we have this test tenant. And you can see this name here is exactly like this one we created. So if we move on then to look at the namespaces, we copy this, paste this in, and we should see this namespace here is exactly the same as the namespace we created here. So this is perfect. Now let's go and look at the list of topics we have. Now I did mention that we didn't create any topics as part of our Docker Compose file. So when we look to see what topics we have here, we shouldn't see any, and we don't, right? We've got a blank result there, which is what we expect. So let's go and create one. So this is how you create a topic. Again, using the the CLI. So you go into bin/pulsar-admin and then create your topic. And your topic can be any name at all, but just make sure that you have the tenant and the namespace before it, so you know exactly where that topic will live. And now that we have created that topic, if we were to use this previous command here, just copy this, paste it again, now we should actually get one result. And assuming that's going to work, we're going to copy this one here. Yep. So you can see we got this one result back. Now we're going to copy this command here. I'm going to paste this in. And this is going to give us some information about that particular topic. So once it loads up here, it just takes a second. You can see that we can get details on what the average message size was, what the bytes in, the messages in, the bytes out, and all this useful information. So this can be good to know if, let's say, you have multiple different services talking to a given topic. That will be one way to know that you're not the only consumer of it. And you can also see the message size, if it's too large or whatever. There might be some ways that you're able to make it more efficient by not sending as much data, or maybe you can send 2 different DTOs to 2 different topics. But anyway, that's kind of going down a rabbit hole. That is Apache Pulsar, up and running on your local machine using Docker and Docker Compose. So this is working. You can connect to this using Java, Node, Python, or any other language that you want, and mess around with it. So I hope you found this video useful.